Hello, family members. I have to be a little abrupt today. I got a Orlando Pride game that's going to kick off in like 5 minutes, but I need to talk about this, so here we are. I was talking to my girlfriend earlier, and she was like, can you sign up for TikTok and I'll be able to get a referral fee? And I'm like, I think I already have an account. I just haven't used it a long time. I don't think that'll work, but I'll try it for you, sure. And then after I went through all that, didn't work. Things we do for our girlfriends, right? But after I went through all of that, I was like, well, while I'm on here, I'll just take some of these shorts that I've been making on YouTube and put them on TikTok. And oh boy. It's been fun already. I've already got some good haters over there, and some nice people too. I don't want to make it seem like it's just like a cesspool. I love my haters. I do. I think they're hilarious. They're the funniest thing. I want more hate comments because I think they're just so funny. Because they're so ineffective. They're not offensive or upsetting to me in any way. Like, for example, I posted a short recently that I then mirrored on TikTok that was about the Trump tariffs. And of course you get your anti-Trump weirdos just manifesting out of nowhere as soon as you do anything like that. But I also got this comment from this guy who was like, anything that you say is undercut by the fact that this person looks lazy. Now, my username is Auntie Elaine. I do understand that with the short hair and my physique being not the stereotypical female body or whatever, that, they might think, okay, I don't know what her gender identity is. But I called myself Auntie Elaine. I think they could have easily gone, this woman, and it wouldn't have been, but that was part of it. It was all backhanded insults. It was them trying to make me feel bad about how I look. And so what I do when I get comments like that are really juicy is that I reply back to them as if they were speaking in good faith. And my response was, you have a point. I understand that. I understand that there are going to be some people that'll just dismiss anything I say just because of how I look. And there's not anything I can do about that. My choices are either speak my piece, knowing that there are certain people that'll just dismiss me because of superficial things that are out of my control, or say nothing at all. And the crux of the matter is that person, that hater commenting, couldn't come back and say, well, you shouldn't say anything at all. And I had mentioned, that I was disabled in my reply, and so you don't get it. They replied back, you don't get a pass for that. I'm like, I know that. People who are watching me, like a 30-second or 59-second clip on TikTok or YouTube or Reels or whatever, they don't know the context of my life. They're going to make the snap judgments they're going to make, and any sort of complicating detail is irrelevant. But again, the only other option I have is to be quiet, to stay out of sight. And that's what they want me to do. That's the point of comments like that, of haters like that, is they're trying to poke at your insecurities, make you feel bad, and make you feel like you are not allowed to use your voice because you're not respectable looking enough, which is something that I run into a lot. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I have been a fat woman on the internet as long as basically the internet was a thing. You know, my mom was a teacher, so I had more access to computers and technology earlier than a lot of my peers in rural West Virginia, okay? Like, it's been 30 years or so that I've been an online person as a fat woman. And then once I found out that, you know, there was such a thing as being aromantic, and that, you know, I really didn't have to try to figure out if I was gay or straight or whatever, because there are other options. And I realized I had a place in the queer community, even though I'd always had so many queer friends and hung out with so many people in queer locations, queer-friendly locations. I never really felt like I belonged until I realized that I did, you know? And I was 35. So, yeah. All of that time, I've dealt with the derision of haters who immediately make assumptions about me, who immediately decide that I am less than them and they don't need to listen to me. You know, the other thing that they don't get, you know, is the context of who I am. Not just that the reason that I don't like gussy myself up and have more polished videos is because I physically am unable to do that. But, like, I have to. I have to make content. I just do. I have things that I need to say. And I know that my audience may end up being ultimately very limited, that I may not really get that many people who are willing to listen to me. But I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for myself and for them, secondarily. I would like it for people to hear some of the ideas that I express and think on it and iterate on it and pass these ideas on. Like, I have absolutely no idea. I have no problem if somebody wanted to come in who was prettier than me and say all the same things I did, to steal my videos down to the minute. I wouldn't care, because to me, the ideas are important. The things that I talk about are important. It is an express political statement for me to show my body as I say these things. And if other people want to try to make my points without that political undertone, fine, I don't have a problem with that. I don't believe that ideas belong to anyone. I believe that it all belongs to society. And so I feel passionately about sharing the little observations that I come up with while I'm looking out in the world. You know, I made a post about it, community post about it. I feel a little, like, sleazy. But I really wanted to have a Cass Elliot shirt. I love Cass Elliot. I know most people will probably think, oh, that's Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas. But to me, she's always Cass Elliot. Or, failing that, Ellen Naomi Cohen. Yes, her legal name was Ellen. So, Elaine and Ellen, we could have been best friends if she had lived, I'm sure. No, I'm a little bit of a fangirl, as you may have noticed. And I was looking all over the net trying to find any nice shirt design with her that didn't reference the Mamas and the Papas. Because John Phillips is a freaking monster. I mean, he sexually abused his own daughter. I don't really want to have any of his, like, iconography on me, okay? And I looked all over and I looked all over and I couldn't find anything. Like, I'd go on Redbubble and there'd be a few cute designs, but they all say Mama Cass. I mean, the woman literally had an album that said, "Don't call me Mama anymore." Anyway, so I'm like, well, I have a Redbubble store. I haven't used it in a while. People don't really buy that much from me, but you know, I do have it, and I could make some designs. I could make better shirts. I could make what I want, and so I did. And I can't wait till they come. I'm so excited. I think they're gorgeous. I made 3 designs, and I referenced 3 of her songs that are my favorite songs. And I am going to wear those shirts with pride, even though that I know people look down on her. I mean, the whole, like, choked on a ham sandwich lie that people made up about her. You know what probably was more important than what she was eating or not eating? The fact that she was an extreme yo-yo dieter. Like, that is really bad for your body, okay? And people don't necessarily realize that, because back then, plus size fashion was all about, like, being as big as a circus tent a lot of the times. And so you couldn't see what her body looked like. You know, if she hadn't had the body that she had, there's no way that people would still be calling her Mama Cass. They would be calling her Cass Elliot. If she looked like Michelle Phillips instead of like herself, her career trajectory would have been completely different. Because let me tell you one thing. She worked with every iconic person at that time. Johnny Cash, John Denver, Bernadette Peters, Julie Andrews, Carol Burnett. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You can literally find collaborations that she did with icons. And if people remember her at all, they remember her by a name she didn't want to be called. By a name that she had to accept to be able to finally convince John Phillips that her talent was enough to make up for the fact that her body looked the way it did. That's the thing that people don't get about DEI. They get it absolutely backwards. The right-wing conception of DEI is that in order to include people from more diverse communities, you must lower your standards in order to be able to hire people on. And then you're going to end up bypassing more qualified white guys just because they're white. That's what they think DEI is. But it's actually the opposite of that. What happens is white guys who are less qualified than more diverse candidates will often get promoted over them. I literally saw this happen in like the last week. I had a friend, queer woman, sort of butchy looking, kind of like me, and she was running her store as not even the assistant manager, but she was the one who had the keys to the store. She was opening, she was doing everything, sales, recovery, everything. She was working like 6-7 days a week for these jerks, and because they were understaffed and they wouldn't hire anyone. And then she has one day off work, she comes in and they've hired someone above her, a white guy. They passed over the woman who basically single-handedly was like the 5th best location franchise in the whole district of a very large chain, they were just like, well, we can't promote her. We got to hire this guy instead. It's just so funny because it's so on the nose. That is what DEI is meant to correct. It is meant to correct that underqualified white men get promoted over more qualified, diverse candidates because of so many intrinsic factors that it's not easy to fix. Let me make an explanation here. If you're hiring and you have a group of people here and they all have pretty decent qualifications, and some of them seem like they might be like really qualified, but there's this guy over here and he's got some of the same habits and hobbies you do. Like when you were talking in the interview, he was talking about his favorite baseball team and you were like, oh yeah, la 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 la, and like, this guy's like me. This guy's the right guy for the position because he's like me. And then they hire that guy over more qualified candidates because the hiring manager has biases that even when they're aware of it, it's hard for them to ignore. Like, their biases, it's a complicated thing. We'll just say that. And it affects our decision making in ways that people just often overlook, to be honest. And that goes for being fat too. People make assumptions about you automatically if you are visibly fat. Like the hater person leaving me the comment and trying to essentially use the word lazy as a stand-in for obese. I cannot tell you how many plus-size athletes I see on all forms of media. People doing headstands and yoga who look like me. People who hike, run, swim, all sorts of sports. Not to mention the fact that it's honestly better to be kind of bulky in certain sports. Rugby, maybe, is a good example. Look at Alona Mayer. She's a huge woman. There's no way that her BMI is within acceptable range, but a lot of her bulk is like muscle. You can't tell how much muscle I have. You just can't. It's covered, right? When I finished with chemo, I was like, I'm going to get my stamina back. And within 3 months, I was hiking literally every day, at least a couple kilometers. When I had a day off work, I would just go to Disney World and walk around. Occasionally maybe get a snack or buy something cute, Maybe go on a ride if there was like no line. I didn't feel like standing around. I just wanted to walk around, take pictures, enjoy things, Like, I walked all over the mountains of West Virginia when I lived up there. I've walked all over Ocala National Forest, all sorts of places in Florida. Like, I was, at that time in my life, pretty darn fit. And I didn't look that much different than I look now. I was gaining weight the entire time because I'd lost so much weight when I had cancer that when my body finally was healed, it went back to what's normal for my body. It's not beneficial to constantly lose and gain weight. It's really bad for your body. And we need people to accept that dieting is a societal ill. It leads to all sorts of horrible health problems. I had a great aunt who was on fen-phen, and it essentially killed her. Like, she has grandchildren she'll never get to meet because she was pressured to lose weight by her doctors, by society, by everybody. And she took a measure that her doctor recommended, and it killed her. Like, dieting is dangerous. Dieting is really bad. Dieting costs us a lot of money. Dieting costs us a lot of stress. And dieting literally kills people. Not to even mention the fact that people end up with eating disorders way more than we realize. And disordered eating doesn't always look like the anorexia, bulimia stereotype. There are people like me who have disordered eating that do binge and purge, or just binge. And that's not healthy. It's hard to develop a healthy relationship with food if what you worry about is this adipose tissue that's attached to your body. I mean, it's just flesh. It says nothing about me or my worth. It is just part of me. It's not something that can change. I mean, even before I was disabled and I was unable to really exercise much, I still try to do stretches and stuff that I can do within my stamina. But before then, I was pretty fit and I was fine with how I'd have salads for snacks. I always try. Everybody knows how to be healthy. You eat sensible portions of food that is unprocessed as best you can. Get lots of fruits and vegetables, especially your leafy greens. Protein is important. You can get it from different sources, and they all have different benefits and drawbacks. And we all need to be active at some point during our day and during our week. And that just needs to be part of a routine. And it needs to be something that we're doing recreationally. Because that's what's wrong with dieting. Dieting is something that people do for a period of time, and eventually they stop. And when they stop, they just go back to the way they were before. That's just what happens. Study after study after study shows this. This is not actually in any sort of scientific doubt. Dieting does not work. Like 95+% of the time. Just doesn't. Short term, maybe. But long term, no. And we have to change this idea that this is how we measure a person's worth, their health, and thus, by extension, their worth. I know that anytime I comment in any sort of public-y space and people can see what I look like, which I never hide. I'm not the kind of person who does the non-representational profile pic. I am open and honest about who I am to a fault. I know I will be met with hostility. I know people are going to be dismissive of me. I know that they're gonna, sometimes be very blunt about how ugly they think I am. Or lazy or gross or whatever, But I just think it's hilarious. Like, why do you think telling me that I'm fat is going to elicit any sort of response in me whatsoever other than mirth. Because guess what? I know. I know what my body looks like. I have to carry all these pounds around. I have to find clothing that fits this body, which is not easy. I have to make sure that if I'm using public transit, that I'm not impinging on somebody else's space because they make the seats too small and my booty is just too darn wide. I know that. I have lived this. I'm 43 years old. I've been plus size probably, 35 years of that. Like, I'm used to it. When I was a kid, I had major depression and I ate my feelings. And once I got to the point where I didn't do that anymore, my body already looked the way it does. And once your body has this tissue, even if you lose weight, the cells are still there. They still can very easily and are programmed to easily come back. Our body thinks of adipose tissue as a good thing, as a storage solution for if things get really bad. Our bodies are not conditioned for the kind of diets that we have, where we get all of this high calorie, high nutrition food on a regular basis. Our bodies are expecting us to only get meals like that very occasionally. And so it wants to hold on. You know, our ability to produce food is phenomenal. There is so much more food produced in this world than there are people to eat it. And people starve anyway because politics is bullshit, but that's just the way the world is right now, and it's kind of upsetting. But moving on. We have not really reckoned with the fact that our food-making technology has advanced so rapidly over the last 150 years, and our bodies can't keep up with it. And dieting is not going to fix it. And trying to bully fat people off the internet is not going to fix it. Pretending I don't exist doesn't make me go away. Pretending people who look like me don't exist doesn't make them go away. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us. Because that's the one thing I will tell you. When I was growing up, it was really hard for me to find clothes that I liked as a teenager, a plus-size teenager who didn't want to wear blue jeans because I had to be too special, right? I don't know. Well, I have a lot easier time finding clothes in my size these days. And they would not be making these clothes if there were not people buying it. And it's not just me. And you'll see plus-size inclusive brands that make a big deal about being plus-size exclusive. They'll say straight up, our plus sizes are the best sellers. Because we exist. We've lived in a society that keeps trying to pretend that we don't exist, or that they can ignore us, or that it's acceptable to expect that I won't give my opinion on my own TikTok account because other people won't like the way I look. Well, family members, this game ain't going very good. I think I did better talking to you than trying to watch this, so. But maybe if I pay attention, maybe things will go better. You know how we sports people are all very superstitious, right? Oh. You want to say hi to Kimmy? You say hi. You say Kimmy. All right, family members, take care of yourself. Bye.